Welcome back, everybody. This is Unconditional Surrender, the me, myself, and I playthrough of the main event scenario. Game is published by GMT Games, designed by Salvatore Vasta. We are currently going to finish the Axis operations. I miscounted as the Russians, I believe. And I think I just lost Moscow. Just to show you what I'm talking about, bring up the national tracks. I'm going to spend another production point. If I activate the 16th, he can go 1 to 2350, 2 to 2351, 3 to 2251. That's all on a rail line. 4, 5, 6. Oh no. No, I didn't. I did not miscalculate. But what it could do is it could get to 2153, which would put me adjacent to Moscow. Would mean that the 30th would most likely die from attacks from the 3rd Panzer. But the question really is can I clear a path? The 15th, if I cleared this, would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I still can't get into Moscow. So I have to not only clear the 30th, but I also have to clear the 2nd Shock Army. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm not going to activate that army. Give me back that production point. 2 in the middle in North Africa, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Started at 27, so I'm at the right place. The other thing I could possibly do would be go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could get one attack on the 1st Shock Army with an infantry unit. I would have to, almost assuredly, would have to throw in my tanks marker to even have a chance, because I'd only be at +1 to a 0. And then I'm kind of cutting off my ability to run up adjacent to Moscow and things. If I could do that with the 16th. The other thing is to try and get the Panzer to, if I get only a DD on the 30th, and he moves to 2353, then I have a chance to possibly take that with a no enemy zone of control and move into Moscow. And if I fail that, then he would be able to move into Moscow. Yeah, I think we're going to try. For Moscow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'd be +1 to his 0. Maybe I can get him to use all of his armor down here. 1, 2, 3. I could do that too. Yeah, we're going to activate the 16th. We're not going to go for Reserve. We're going to try and set up something to let us get ourselves into Moscow somehow. So 16th is going to go down that rail line like I described before, but then he's going to go to 2252. So that's 4 movement points. Then it costs 3 to attack the 30th across the river. The 30th doesn't have a retreat route, but he's also not isolated because he's right adjacent to Tula and the 2nd Shock Army. So that makes me a net of +1, +2 for German, -1 for the river, and he is at a 0 to start off with. And 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If he can clear these 2 hexes, he stands a good chance of taking out Moscow. And if I use up my tank markers as the Russian, then he stands a chance of taking out Leningrad, but that still requires some extreme die rolls twice. I think I'm going to have to, as the Russians, I think Moscow's more important because of its... Oh, boy. Yeah, I think Moscow's more important. So I think I'm going to have to go ahead and throw in another tanks marker here, which is I really don't want to. So now the Russians are +2. The Germans have to decide whether they really want to get Leningrad or do this. I think they're going to go ahead and do this because they still have the 15th and the 3rd Panzer that could kill this army and possibly still push somebody out of Tula. Would be a couple will points. Not Moscow, mind you, but I have another clear weather turn coming, so he's not going to be able to get too much in front of me where I won't be able to at least have a couple of panzers be able to attack him, I hope. So we're going to just let it go at +1 to +2. Hope I don't lose a step. And the Germans roll. 2 + 1 is a 3. The Russians roll. 2 + 2 is a 4, so that means nothing happens. That's an asterisk. Again, I have the combat results table pretty well memorized for the lower amounts. So 3 to a 4 is a diamond. Usually takes a separation of 2 in the results for it to be significant. That's when you need to double check. So that was all I could do there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I had 1 movement point left, but I can't use it. So now I have to go to, I think I go to the armor at this point. I could, that would just be hilarious. Should I do that just for kicks? I'm going to activate the Hungarian. This is just silly, but it seems like a thing to do. Hungarian can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across the river into 2352. So that's 5, and then 2 more to attack the 30th. The Hungarians are attacking the 30th, so we're both starting at +0. We go to combat commitment. The Russians, knowing that there's still an armor to come, I think I need to save the tanks to try and get an AS on that armored attack, because that would be the best thing, because then he couldn't take Tula too. So we're going to let these Hungarians go ahead and commit, and they're going to use one of their ground support markers. This is just silliness on my part, but the Hungarians really want to find that lost, stolen recipe. Their Hungarian goulash is in danger here. So refer back to the beginning of the war in 1941 in the East. That's why the war started, as the Hungarians went running across the border trying to catch their stolen recipe. So Hungarians are +1, the Russians are at a 0. 2 + 1 is a 3. The Russians are all a 6. So a 3 to a 6 is an AS. So no, we do not have your recipe, Hungarians. Go away. Now comes a little bit harder thing. 3, 6, 8, 9, 10. I have to roll for the Hungarian ground support. See how long it's going to take to come back. 6 turns! What a waste. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll see it in February again. Maybe then the Hungarians will be able to attack again. It would have been hilarious if I'd gotten a step on it, but didn't work out that way. I guess the question I have for myself here is, do I attack with the infantry, trying to get a no enemy zone of control, and then move into 2353 if I have enough movement points? And then the Panzer could possibly take out Tula, +3 to +2. It's not that great. No, I think geez, +4 to 0 or +2 to 0. If I get +2 to 0 and then I don't take out Tula, I'm kind of stuck, and I don't get my run to Moscow. 1, 3, 7. Okay, well, we'll do it with the armor. He'll do the attacks, so he's +4. The 30th, I'm at that point here. You look at the combat results table real quick. The best the Russians could get with a tank would be an 8. Worst the Germans can get is at +4 is a 5. So even if I roll really well, it would take he has to roll a 1 and I have to roll a 6 to get an AS. It might hold him up so that he can't take Tula. But if I commit this, then I'm depending on the dice to defend me in Leningrad. Once again, I think Moscow is more important, so I'm going to go ahead and commit it here. For good or ill, we'll see. So I'm +2. So it's a +4 to a +2 on the first die roll. 4 + 4 is an 8. 2 + 2 is a 4. Not enough. It is a DR, so he is flipped because he cannot retreat. And that the Germans would have had 8 movement points at the end of that. They'll spend 2 more to attack the 30th at -2 now, and he has no more tanks markers. So let's put this back on the turn track. We don't think that we're using it again. So it's +4 to -2 now. 2 + 4 is a 6, and then, like I've said before, a 6 is when you're at -2, it's an automatic thing. So you're going to lose a will point and lose an infantry. So he's lost 5 infantry, or 4 infantry and a shock. And then I would get no enemy zone of control there if I wanted it. I have 6 movement points left. And 6 movement points will not get me into Moscow. Because if I move into 2353, I'd have to stop and attack the second shock. If I don't take the hex, I still would have the 15th possibly being able to attack into Tula. So I'm going to have the oh, jeez. Yeah, we're going to have the 3rd Panzer attack into Tula. So he's at +2. I'm at +3. And that's all we can do at this point, I think. Unfortunately, if I get a DR, he's going to go to 2254. And I won't be able to get into Moscow. If I took the hex and attack, that'd be 3. Yeah, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's +3 to a +2. So the Germans roll 4 + 3 is a 7. The Russians roll a 1 + 2 is a 3. 7 to a 3 is just a DR. So they will retreat into 2254. The Germans will go ahead and take the hex just to get the 2 will points. I haven't been paying attention. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I should be down 11 points. So I should be at 16. And I am not. Okay. That means the national will went down another 2, so he's at 19. It was just a retreat. Now I would be attacking at +2 to +2. And a retreat would give him let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. don't have anybody left to run in. 2, 3, 4. I can't. I don't want him to move into Moscow. I'm going to try and attack him with the 15th here in a second. What I'm going to do with this Panzer, since he has 3 movement points left, he's going to go ahead and spend 2 on to attack the first tank's army, so that he's +4 to +2. Because I just realized he can't retreat anywhere, so I might get him down a step, which might let me kill a tank's army and get a will point that way. I don't think I can get into Moscow the way it's set up right now. Moscow looks like it's just not doable. So I'm going to see if I can't arrange the death of a first tank army. So I'm +4 and he's +2. So here we go. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't start my timer. So I'm not sure how long this is taking me. +4 to +2. Let's roll. Oh, I rolled a 4. +4 was an 8. And he rolled a 3 + 2 is a 5. 8 to a 5 is just barely a DR, so he's flipped. And I don't have any movement points left to attack him with. I could just go attack him with the Romanian. That would be silly. I have to think on that. I might actually do something that silly here in a minute. 1, 2, 3. He's there. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we're going to activate the 15th Army. We're going to do something bizarre here. See if this works. We're down to 15. He's going to go 1 and then 2 for the river, 3, 4 for 2553. And then he attacks the second shock army. So he is +2 for German, -1 for the river, and the shock army is +2, just because of it being elite in a shock army in fair weather. And then I'm going to throw in the German tanks marker at this juncture to give me a +3 to a +2. I'm trying to get a retreat. If I get a retreat, I think I have a sneaky way of getting into Moscow. Maybe. +3 to +2. Here we go. Does it work? 4 + 3 is a 7. He rolled a 6 + 2 is an 8. So that didn't work. Oh, what did I put a ground marker? I put the wrong thing out. It's not ground support. It's tank. So it was a tank marker. It has to go on the turn track. And that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm not going to get him. So I'm not going to get into Moscow. The Russians are going to be able to hold Moscow. For all this hoodoo that I did, it's not going to work, but I should be able to get this first tanks army, I think. So let me... What do I need to do? Oh, turn track. I'm just losing it. There we go. Just put it in the stack. So the next one will be the 10th Army. That's a point. Down to 14. He's just going to move 1 to 2554, and then 3, 4, or 2, 3, so he has 5 movement points left. 5 movement points left. And he attacks the first tank's army. Who is at 0 now because he's flipped, and I'm at +2. So +2 to 0. See what we do. 4 plus 2 is a 6, and he rolled a 4. 6 to a 4 is a DR. He has no legal retreat route because of his own control and his own units. So I knocked off the tank's unit too. So that goes on to the eliminated track. And National Will comes down another one. He's down to 18. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I didn't take a city, right? Oh, I did take Tula. 7, 8. So yeah, that's right. He started at 26. He's down to 18. I could take the hex with a no enemy zone of control, but I have like no defenses here. So I'm actually going to stick my nose into here instead and end my activation. Because even if I had used my no enemy zone control, it would have been 1, 2, and then I can't really attack anything and take the city like Razion or something. I can't get anywhere. So I'm kind of stuck there. And I'm going to pause here because I think I'm real close to my time. I'm back. Looks like I have about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to try and pull off the rest of the German turn here, if at all possible. The next thing they're going to do is go up here to Leningrad. Make sure I get my mic in the right place. I've got my timer running. I've been doing some adding here. If I activate the NOR, that would be +2 because it's isolated. And I can throw the Finns in with their ground support for a total of +6, which would be a +5, halved, of course. But that gives me a chance. If I get a flip on the first one, then I would have the armor would be +4, +2 for isolation, and +1 for the other German infantry. But then it would be -2 for going across the river, so it would be another +5. So I'm going to try and see if I can get a rolling assault with 2 +5s. So we're going to activate the Finns and assault, and we're going to activate the NOR and assault. So the Finns go down to 0, Germans go down to 13. I don't have any other markers for the Germans because I used the tanks somewhere else. I do have ground support. I'm going to go ahead and throw in for the, just put it down here so I can get it on the turn track when I roll my dice. So the Germans start off at +2. They get +2 because it's isolated. +1 for their Finnish buddies. The Finnish bring their version of tanks and artillery or whatever to make it +6, and then it's -1 for attacking into a city. So I'm +5. I'm halved, and he's just a straight die roll. So I do have to roll fairly well for the Germans to make this work. Germans roll a 2. +5 is a 7. 7 halved is 3.5, so they round up to 4. They have a net of 4. The Germans roll a 1 or the Russians roll a 1 or 2, then I have a chance. The Russians roll a 1. A 4 to a 1 is a DR. They cannot retreat, so they are flipped. So I am going to forego rejuvenating an airplane someplace in order to try and take Leningrad. I'm going to activate the 1st and the 1st Panzer. 1st Army and the 1st Panzer. I'll go take that off my national tracks. So that's 3 more. So 1, 2, 3, I'm down to 10. That starts off, the Panzer will be the primary, so he's at +2 for German, +2 for armor, +2 because it's isolated, and then +1 for his buddy, the 1st Army, makes it up to 7. The Russians are at -2, and then for terrain, I'm going across the river and into a city. So across the river is -1, into a city is -1. So I'm a +5 to a -2, and the attacker is halved. So let's roll. 3 plus 5 is an 8. Halved is a 4. So I have a 4 again, and the Russians are -2 on their die roll. A 3 minus 2 is a 1. A 4 to a 1 is a DR. So we have taken Leningrad. The Russians will suffer some national will loss here. First, I'm going to get the infantry unit. 6th Infantry Unit held for a while. He goes into the eliminated box. And the national will go down 1 for the unit. The Leningrad fort is destroyed. Clone control marker, put it in Leningrad. And the 1st Infantry will be the one that advances, not the armor, because that would leave a big hole in my line. To take Leningrad, that does a couple of things. First off, the total factory count for the Russians goes down another 1. So their total factories that they own are 4. And then they lose 2 willpower because of the city. So they're down to 15. So the Germans had a very successful August of 1942. I do have 1 movement. Well, I got to roll for the Finns. I actually could have had forgot to roll for the Finns at the end of the last attack, so I'm going to do that now. So 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That comes back in January. So for the rest of the year, I don't have anything to help my minor allies. Yeah, wow. That's pretty good going there for the Germans. They have 10 left, which means they can bring up 3 airplanes. They don't have anything really to spend down here. So they're going to go ahead and move the 7th Garrison. It's just going to start to march. Go ahead and use the point up, because I'll lose it otherwise. I don't have anything to build, I don't think. I'm going to double check. No, I don't have anything in the mobilization box. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to Warsaw, 5, 6, 7 to Brest, and then southeast. Because I'm going to need units in the south here really fast. I'm really thin down there. And I still could move the Romanians someplace. I'm going to put the Romanian in the line at 2654. The reason being is that the 23rd, if it wanted to, could move into 2755. And he could get the 9th to come into 2956. That would give him a 3-hex assault on the 8th Army, and it would be isolated. So he might even move that army in and move this other army up and do the tank army up and try to do mobile attacks because I'm isolated. He'd be +4 to my +2. He'd kill a German infantry, and then maybe some of his infantry could move out and attack my German strategic marker there, or run up, into Kursk or some silliness. By going here, I prevent that. I'll always have a retreat route for the 9th. So, kind of keep the Russians from attacking. So that's worth it, I think, to risk the Romanians. And the other thing I want to do is I want to go look at Norway, where all my Swedes are. I have a real army in Stavanger. I'm going to use one of the Swedish points to move the 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's going to start heading down to Stavanger. The guy in Bergen can stay there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the other one will move into Oslo. And that's the Swedes. Okay, now we'll go down to, I do not have to keep my infantry in supply anymore with the convoy, and I won't have the points to do anything with the airplane, so I'm not going to supply that. Everything in Russia should be in supply, down various rail lines and things. So yeah, let's clear this so we can see. The next thing we need to do is, I'm going to go ahead and do this now. I'm supposed to wait to the end of all of the operations phase, but surprise attack marker goes into the surprise attacker marker holding box. It did its job. I got a good chunk. I got like 8 points off the Russians. I don't know. I have to check their will. They started at 26. Right? 26. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. And 2 cities, Tula and Leningrad. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They took out 11 will. He started at 26. He's down to 15. So the Russians have to be a little bit careful here about September, in that they don't want to give up any cities if they can avoid it, and try and hold the Germans from killing too many ground units as well. We've got a few turns to make. We've got to make it to December. If we ended in the Russian December turn with at least 1 will point, that means that they'll survive until the end of the war. They won't collapse. Germans are close. This is probably the closest I've gotten in a very long time, except for the first time when I played everything wrong and basically cheated a lot for the attackers. Let's go do supply. Down here in the med, this is going to hurt immensely, to say the least. The first supply is going to be from the 5.5s. We're going to go ahead and finish. We're going to go ahead and finish. We're going to finish the supply, and then that'll be the end of the turn. The 2 5s, the convoy and the fleet, will go up against the British. The British will be at 0. We're +2 for British, -2 for sorties. They'll be at a 0. I'm at a -5, so the best I can get is a 1. Okay, so I'm hoping that the British roll a 1 or a 2, and I get through. They rolled a 6, so I didn't get through. So the fleet is at 6. And then, again, I'm hoping that they roll really low. They're now at -1 net to attack the convoy. This was trying to supply the Ella Galia dude. So now they're at... had to take a sortie for that first attack. So now they're -3 +2 for British, so they're -1 net. I'm still at... best I can get is a 1 with the Italians. So it's a matter of whether the British end up with a net 1 or 2. Not with 2 6s in a row. So they take that supply down, or that guy up to 6, and they put Ella Galia in the low supply. Oh well. It was a thought. Hope for some bad die rolls, not the British. That was the Russian purview to roll badly. So now the 2 sortie fleet and the 1 convoy will try to make the fort in Tobruk. The Force H will, of course, intercept. They are at net +2 for British, +2 for aircraft carrier, -2 for sorties. And the Italians are at a -2 for their escort. Oh, -2. So the British roll. 5 + 2 is a 7. Best I can get is a 4, I think. I rolled a 1, so 7 to a 1 I think is 3 sorties. 7 to a 1, 1 to 7, yeah, 3 sorties. Oh, that's what I forgot to do with the Italians. I'm sorry, we're going to back up. I forgot to do the Italian attack. So, I'm going to let the supply stand over here in the east. But before this, there should have been an Italian attack on this, which would have been -3. And then he would have, I'm going to just use his die roll, so he would have had a 6. It's a -3 to a -2. Let's just roll it. Yeah, I'm a 0. He's whatever. But that means that he's at +3 here. So that when he attacked me, he would have been only +1, which would have been a 6. I'm still at -2. This guy's done. So it's a 1 to a -2 for this die roll. 2 + 1 is a 3, and I'm a -2. 4 minus 2 is a 2. 3 to a 2 means I got through the first time. And he would have taken a 4th sortie to do that. And then I'm going to go for the Africa army now, and he would be at a 0 to my 3. He might stop it once, but I'll be able to do it twice, and he'll be at 6 sorties. So the British are just going to conserve sorties and say, go ahead and leave him in supply. So the aircraft did its job by chipping off his sortie. And I got a lucky die roll. Okay. And then the other 2 units, Benghazi and Tripoli, come out of Tripoli, so they stay at low supply. Next turn, I might be hurting. And I forgot to put I'm going to do this right now. I'm seeing this. I forgot to put the British tanks on the turn track last turn, so they're back there. Okay, I think that's it for the Germans at this point. So this has been the second half of the German operations phase of the turn August 1942 of the game Unconditional Surrender in the main event scenario. This is Dren608. Leave me comments, what you like, what you don't. Sorry about that little mess up there about the Italian airplane at the end of this video. If you like what you see and don't want to miss any further installments of this game and its playthrough, please subscribe. And we will see you next time. This is Dren608. Bye-bye.